Hey guys, how's it going? It is Calvin Rab, and I hope you're having an awesome day today. Now, I'm really excited to make this video because in this video, I'm going to be going over M1 Finance, which has really grown in popularity the past few months, the past few years, and I've been using it. I have about $4,000 in there. I've been using it for the past few months, and now I want to go over some of the pros and cons that I found about it to help you make your decision whether or not you want to use M1 Finance or not. So in this video, I'm going to go over 5 different pros and 6 different cons that I have found with M1 Finance. Then at the end, I'm going to talk a little bit about who I think M1 Finance is for and who I think it is not for. So I'm going to go over the pros first, and we're going to jump into that, and let's get this kind of M1 Finance pro-con video started. And of course, if you're new here, my name's Calvin Rab. Here I make videos all about personal finance, so if you're interested in anything like that, I would love it if you would subscribe. Alright, so let's jump into what these pros are, the best things about M1 Finance. And one cool thing about M1 Finance is that if you sign up using my link in the description below, each of us will get $10. So I would love it if you would use that link. I would get $10, you would get $10, and it's just kind of a win-win there, and you can get your investing career started at M1 Finance on the right foot. So I would love it if you would use that link down there. But let's get into the first pro with M1 Finance. And for me, this is probably the best thing with M1 Finance. That's why I put it first, and that is you can buy partial shares. So partial shares are exactly what it sounds like. If you go in the edit button here, you can see that I own 3 different stocks, and they take up a percentage of my portfolio. So Amazon takes up 10% of my portfolio. And the cool thing is Amazon right now is trading for around $2,000. And as you saw, I only have $4,300 in my account, but I can make Amazon be about 10% of it. I don't have to buy a whole share. And I think this is the coolest thing about it, especially if you're coming in with not that much money. Suppose you only have around maybe 500 or just a couple $100 and you want to start investing it, and maybe you want to buy Amazon, but you only have a couple $100 and Amazon's $2,000. Well, rather than saving all the way up, you can just add it to be part of your pie, which is just a breakdown of all your different stocks. You can put your $100 in there, and through that you've invested in Amazon, the stock, with your $100. So I think that is by far the coolest thing with M1 Finance. That is what brings a lot of people to M1 Finance. It is really what brought me to M1 Finance, just to kind of check it out and try it out, and I think that's the coolest thing about it. And then it's really easy to adjust the percentages here. Suppose I want my Amazon to instead be 20% here, and then I would of course have to change maybe VOOG and bring that down to 60%, so it comes to 100, but you have complete control on a percentage basis of exactly how you want your portfolio to be broken up. Pro number 2, and I spend a lot of time on this page, and I think it's really, really cool, and that is the expert pies. So if you just go to edit, you can go to add, and then here you see expert pies. Now, the expert pies are essentially pies that are created by different companies or for different reasons. So if you go to, say, just general investing, here are a bunch of different pies that are broken down. Suppose you went to the conservative one. This is a breakdown of a conservative pie, so meaning all the stocks here are quite conservative. They're very safe. You can see the history of it. You can add it to your basket, add it to your portfolio if you would like. If you're interested in stocks and bonds, you can go and find those pies which have a different ratio of stocks to bonds. You can also follow different hedge funds and see their breakdown. Here's Berkshire Hathaway, and it gives a breakdown of everything that is inside Berkshire Hathaway, and you can just add that as a small percentage of your portfolio, get some Berkshire Hathaway in there, and it's a great breakdown there as well. So I spend a lot of time here on these expert pies. As a personal finance kind of nerd, I just find this stuff really interesting, and I actually, when I was investing in putting some money into Robinhood and TD Ameritrade, I was actually looking through some of these pies to see exactly how they're broken down, and for me it was just a really easy way to understand exactly how different things are broken up, where money is going, where it's coming from, and see what the investments are in. So I really enjoy going through there, and if you just want to get a general overview of the market and what different options are out there, this is a really good place to really start and just see what different people are investing in and how different portfolios are broken up. So I highly recommend checking out the expert pies. pro number 3 has to be the pricing. Now, why is it good pricing? Well, it is pretty much free. So if you buy and sell stocks, there are no commissions, which is great if you're trading often. There's also no really account management fees. There also aren't any monthly fees that you got to pay for. So this is really all you. This is just your option. You can really dive in and not have to worry about whether or not you're getting your money's worth, because it is $0, nada, to use M1 Finance. So pro is definitely the pricing. The fourth pro for me was how simple M1 Finance is. Now, some people may see this as a pro, some others see it as a con. I see it as a good thing. I just really like the simplicity and the really intuitiveness of M1 Finance. So as you can see here on my portfolio, it just gives you my pie breakdown. It gives you the value I have, how much I've made, my return. Now, if you guys are wondering, I got into M1 Finance beginning of May there, May 10th, and I made about $324. So that's a good return. I think that's a very good return there. You can get a little breakdown, and it just gives your slices below. So it doesn't overwhelm you with information. It's just very simple, very to the point, and really easy to navigate. So even as I was showing, if you're adding stocks, it's just really easy. You can add Microsoft, add it to your portfolio, and change the percentages. So I don't really want to add that right now, but it's just really easy to navigate and understand, which is great for everyone, whether you're a beginner just jumping into this, or you're more advanced, you're a long-term investor. It's just really easy to navigate. So the simplicity of M1 Finance for me is a pro. Number 5 is the control you have over your investments. So as we saw here, you control your portfolio down to a percentage basis, meaning I could add a stock and only have it be 1% of my portfolio. Now, that isn't really possible in places like Robinhood, where you have to buy a whole stock. So maybe I want to be invested in Amazon, but I don't want it to be that much of my portfolio. Well, you're going to have to spend about $2,000 to buy the stock, and then we'll kind of see what percentage it makes up your portfolio. And if you have a smaller portfolio, then you don't have the options to get in as many stocks and diversify as much as you would like. So being able to choose things and add things as just a 1% part of your portfolio, I think is really cool. And you have ultimate control over your portfolio. There's nothing else that's really trying to change things, and your money isn't dictating the percentages. No, you're coming down to a percentage basis. And I think that is what is really cool about M1 Finance, one of the reasons I recommend it to a lot of people, and that is just because of the percentage breakdown. All right, so we went over those 5 pros. I now kind of want to flip it and go over the 6 cons that I found with M1 Finance. So let's get into it. The first con that I saw was that you can't plan trades, meaning suppose I want to go and add some Microsoft here. So there's nothing I can really do to plan the trade, meaning if I wanted to get in, suppose Microsoft dipped a whole bunch the day before, and I'm like, all right, in the morning I want to get in. I want to get in while that price is low. That's not really possible, because I just have to add this to my basket, and sometime in that trading day, sometime in that trading window, it will then buy some Microsoft. So you can't plan, I want to get in at this price. You also can't really set stop loss orders. So maybe you want to plan your trade to get out if it hits this certain price. That's not really possible here, because it just doesn't really let you. It would be kind of hard on a percentage basis also, but I would like if you could control your trades a little bit more. Like, I want to sell it if it hits this price, and I want to get in if it's at this certain price, and just maybe a few basic functions surrounding planning your trades. But right now you can't really do anything. All you do is you add it, and then sometime within the day it's going to get in there. I understand why they did that, read up a little bit on it, and that's just because they're a long-term game. This isn't for day traders or anything like that, so they're buying and you're going to hold it for a while. But I would like a little more functionality and ways to plan my trades. Number 2 are the graphs. The graphs are so simple that they barely give you that much information at all. All they do is you just drag your little cursor here, and you can see, all right, here's the amount of money that I had in this particular account. Oh, and if you're wondering why it jumps up that starkly, that amount, that's just because I didn't make that much. I added about, I believe it was $2,000 into my account, so that's why. But the graphs are so simple. So if you head back back here, all you can do is just bring your finger, or not your finger, your mouse across, and you can see what the different prices were at different points. There's no way to really see what the jump is between two amounts, which is something that Robinhood allows you to do. But even Robinhood for me are very simple graphs. I just wish they were a little more complex, a little more just ways to analyze it, and just getting a general overview here isn't quite enough for me. So even if they did something like what Google does, if you look up a stock in Google, you can manipulate it a little bit more in just a few things. I don't need an very intense graph where I can add indicators and different things like that, but just a little more functionality, maybe to see percentage change between here and right there to see how much it dropped or something like that. But just it's a little too simple that I can't really get too much out of it aside from just seeing the price. The third con, and this one's always been really weird to me, and I don't understand why it is still a problem, and that is if you click on the 1-day chart, it gives me not enough data to display. So I was thinking, all right, maybe that's just because it's the weekend or so, but even during the week, it always says not enough data to display. So when I check my stocks, all I can see is how much I've gained or how much I've lost on the day. It doesn't give me a chart whatsoever. And for me, I want to see how my stocks are doing that day. I want to see, did it open low? Did it end high? And all it says is not enough data to display. Now, this is a problem that a lot of people have complained about. I was reading a little thread on Reddit about it, and someone from M1 Finance responded and said, we know the problem is out there and we're trying to fix it. Now, that was a while ago. I'm surprised it is still an issue, but I do hope they fix it soon, because it is frustrating not being able to see how my stocks did for the day, and the fact that I can't see it on a 1-day chart. I have to just look at the gain or loss, and I gotta go maybe to the week to see exactly how it did. So I do wish that worked. It doesn't work on the app either, and I'm hoping that's something they resolve pretty soon. Number 4, now this one is kind of a con that was just a little frustrating, but ultimately I understand why they do it. It's just a little weird, and that is the fact that stocks can be underweight and overweight. Meaning, if you look at my portfolio here, I have Amazon right here. Now, I added Amazon about 2 weeks ago, but as you can see, it's still 0% of my portfolio, and that's because it is what they call underweight, meaning to make up that amount of my portfolio, to be 10% of my portfolio, I need to have more money in my account. So what people most often think of M1 Finance, they think of, all right, I want to add this certain stock, I want to then have it be 20% of my portfolio, and then I'm done. But that's not the case. Oftentimes, if you make it 20% of your portfolio, it's gonna maybe be underweight or something like that, where it isn't part of your portfolio yet because you don't have enough money to match that percentage basis. So you can fix this by going rebalance, and if you click rebalance, then it will rebalance everything and make everything else equal again. It will sell some stock, which remember has tax implications and different things like that. So it's just a little frustrating when things are underweight. I understand why they do it. They don't want to get you in, sell your stock, and you have to pay a whole bunch of taxes. So I do see that, once you add money, then the account will fill it and bring it back to normal. But it was just a little weird because when people first talk about M1 Finance, this isn't really something they mention, is the fact that stocks can be underweight and overweight. If that seemed a little complex, it is a little weird. It took me a little while to get my head wrapped around it, but M1 Finance does have a good article on their something they call dynamic rebalancing, which is how they balance out their stocks. So I recommend reading through that to understand a little bit more about underweight and overweight. Now, there are ways to get around it through the rebalance and different things like that. Just know that there are tax implications, as I said, and different things like that. The 5th con that I saw with M1 Finance is there isn't that much information about the stock. So as you can see here, all it says is just the market cap, the PE ratio, the dividend yield. It gives the CEO, the number of employees, and the market that it trades on, and some news down there, which is good. It's very bare bones, can give you kind of an overview of a stock, but I wish there was an option to learn a little bit more. Now, I don't need a ton of information, but just a little bit of information just to make it a little more helpful for me to see if this is a stock I want to buy. You know, whether it be 52-week highs, 52-week lows, different things like that. Earnings reports would be really cool, kind of like Robinhood does. Estimated earning report versus what came in, and just simple stuff like that. It doesn't have to be so complex, but just different ways to get a better overview of the portfolio. And this is just very simple. I understand what they're doing, but I wish it was a little bit more complex, or there was a button you could click on just for more details. The last con that I want to go over can be found in the research tab right here. And my con here is just the news itself. So the news isn't bad. They're from reputable sites. We see CNBC, Forbes, New York Post, Guru Focus, and different things like that. And essentially what they're doing is they're just grabbing different articles from these sites and just as a data dump, just throwing it into M1 Finance here. And there's just no way to really go through it. It's just a lot of information that I don't really know how to work with so much just because it's so much. I wish there was just maybe a few tabs that I could go through to maybe filter things down to see what I really want to read. Now, I probably would never use M1 Finance as my main news source, but if they did make it a little more advanced in that I can kind of narrow down to the news that I want to see, then I'd probably use it a little bit more. But right now, it's just a data dump of all this stuff, and even on the stock side, it just goes and sees articles that have that stock in it, throws it in there, and it's really not too helpful. Good companies, but I wish you could filter it a little bit more. So that's the last con that I wanted to go over. So in my mind, those are the 5 pros and the 6 cons to M1 Finance. And now I want to go over who I think M1 Finance is for and who it's not for. So let me jump into who I think M1 Finance is for. So M1 Finance for me is for multiple different people. So the first person it's for is for someone with not that much money. So if you're coming in with a few $100, maybe even just a few $1,000, and you really want to diversify your portfolio, then I do think M1 Finance is for you because it gives you the ability to buy other stocks that you wouldn't be able to buy if you had to buy the whole thing. So if you go into Robinhood with $3,000 and you want to get some Amazon, you're gonna have to spend 2/3 of your money just buying one share. But here you can buy a partial share and you can really diversify your portfolio, get a whole bunch of stuff in there, and it's just a lot better you can get a much wider range of stocks and really make your own great portfolio just on that percentage basis. And you don't have to worry about buying a whole stock or anything like that. So money doesn't play as big of a part. So if you have a smaller amount of money, I think M1 Finance is great for you. Another person I think it's for is for long-term investors. So as you can see, M1 Finance really is geared towards long-term investors. That's why they don't have those different planning of the stocks that I talked about, stop loss orders and different things like that. It's just for people that want to put in their money, let it sit there, and then come back maybe in a while and just see how their stocks did. You're not really actively trading or swing trading or anything like that. You're just letting it sit there, putting your money in the stock market and letting it make some money. So if you're a long-term investor, this is also great for you. You can break down your pie there, and it's just very easy to do. Another person I think it's great for are beginners, and the reason for that is just because it's so simple, yet at the same time it's very, very powerful. So yes, it's very simple, but it allows you to really diversify your portfolio and get a good portfolio for you and get you into the market in kind of a smart, reliable, responsible way. So, and it's just really easy to navigate. So if we head back here, just super simple. The slices here, the pie here, the portfolio here, and it's great for beginners. And the cool thing is, this is kind of one of the rare kind of stock exchange or brokerages that are out there that I think are both for beginners and more advanced individuals. Now, it won't have a lot of the data you may want, but really anyone on the spectrum can use M1 Finance. But particularly here, I think it is really good for beginners. All right, so who is this not for? Well, the first person it's obviously not for is going to be the opposite of a long-term investor, and that is more short-term investors. So if you're a swing trader or a day trader, this is certainly not a platform you're going to want to be using, and that's just because you have no control over your entry and exits and everything like that. The graphs are not very good when it comes to seeing exactly how things are doing, and it would not be for you, especially since you're not really buying stock, you're buying percentage basis, and it doesn't buy quickly, it buys somehow within the day there. So if you're a short-term investor, a swing trader, or even a day trader or anything like that, this isn't the platform that you're going to want to be using. There are other ones out there. Most likely, if you're a day trader, something like Thinkorswim from TD Ameritrade, swing trader, maybe even Robinhood or different things like that. So definitely not for someone that is looking on a short-term basis. It's also not for the extremely analytically minded people that want to know everything about a stock. And as I said, that's just because a lot of the stocks had very, very basic information and it wasn't that helpful. So if you really want to know everything, if you really want to dive deep, then they don't really have the resources for you. You may want to go elsewhere. You can still use it, I guess, if you wanted to. If you wanted to go do your research elsewhere, which is what I did, and then went and invested in M1 Finance, then you could certainly do that, but it won't have all the information that you may want. So in my mind, mind, that is kind of who I see M1 Finance is for and who it's not for. And for me, I do like it. I do think I'll continue using M1 Finance along with other portfolios. I'm not going to move all my money here, but I do think it's great to really diversify the portfolio in that way. I really like the expert pies and the possibilities that brings, and I do like the percentage breakdown. It's easy. This is more of my long-term investments. I'll probably put some more money in here, and just the part of my investment portfolio where, like, I'm probably not going to look at it for a while, and I'm just going to let it sit there and have it grow for me over the year. So there is part of my portfolio that I do like, and I probably will continue to leave there. And if after all this you see that, hey, I'd like to use M1 Finance, then I would love it if you would use my link in the description below. But that will wrap it up. But before I leave, I want to ask you a question. So that was the M1 Finance pros and cons. What are some other pros and cons that maybe I miss? What are your favorite things about M1 Finance, or maybe things you don't like about it? Let me know in the comments below. I will be looking through there. I'll be talking to you guys, and let's just have a good conversation. M1 Finance is really popular nowadays, so I'm excited to see what your guys' thoughts are on that as a whole. But that will wrap it up. Thank you guys so much for watching. If you are new here, my name is Calvin Rabb, and here I make videos all about personal finance, so if you're interested in anything like that, I would love it if you would subscribe. But that will close it out. Have an awesome rest of your day. Best of luck in the markets, guys, and thank you to all the new subscribers. I really enjoyed talking to a lot of you in the comments below, so hope you have an awesome rest of your day. I really mean that, and as always, my name is Calvin Rabb, and I'll see you soon. Bye, guys.